Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming from right here on my YouTube channel, brought to you in part by our friends at Mint Mobile. I am, of course, John Campea, and it is an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, our international friends, gather around as we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news, TV and streaming, and all sorts of good stuff. We're joined today by sitting over here, Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett. Back there in the corner, we got Ray Orris joining us. Oh, sitting all the way back there is Taylor Gonzalez. In front of him is running the show today, Jonathan Fuqua, and beside him is, of course, the delightful Chris Carr. And most importantly, you guys are here, and we are so glad that you are. Guys, make sure you stick around today a little bit, because later this afternoon, we've got our weekly installment of The Weekly Hero with Rob and Chris, and we hope you guys will come by and join us for that. And yeah, it's so good to have you here. Here's how today's show is going to go, by the way, guys. In the first part of the show, we're going to talk about some predetermined topics. And then the second part of the show, we're going to take your live comments and questions via Super Chat. We think we've got a system now for the days that we're going to take our member chats and the days we'll take Super Chats. We think the days that we have an open mic later in the afternoon, those days we will do member chats on the John Campea Show. And the days that we don't have an open mic later in the afternoon, we will take Super Chats during the show. And by the way, a programming note, I mentioned yesterday that I would be doing a open mic yesterday afternoon. I had several projects that just took way longer than I thought, and I wasn't able to do that. So I apologize. Open mic will return tomorrow, though. All right. With all that down, guys, we got a lot of stuff to talk about here today, and we're going to start off with a few off the tops. And our first one is this. You know, for a long time, going back to the AMC days, literally back to the AMC days, we've always fielded questions about why is there no Michael Jackson biopic? Where's the king of pop? Great selling artist of all time. Why is there no? And we would often say, well, because it's difficult. You know, there's a very, very fine line you're going to have to walk doing a Michael Jackson biopic about which hot button issues do you address, which do you not, and then if you do address them, how do you address them? Do you imply he didn't do anything wrong, which is what I think half the people believe? Well, then you're going to piss off a lot of people if you do. Do you imply in your movie that he did do something wrong, which the other half of people believe? In which case you're going to piss off the other half of people. And we've talked a lot about, even recently, about that's why we haven't seen one yet. I said, if it wasn't for that, I think we would have had 6 Michael Jackson biopics by now, to be honest with you. But it looks like it is now happening, as Deadline is now reporting that Emancipation's Antoine Fuqua, I love Antoine Fuqua. I think he's a terrific director. He also did the Equalizer films with Denzel Washington.
Training Day.
He did Training Day. He did the Chris Pratt, Denzel Washington Magnificent Seven. Yeah. Magnificent Seven. I really like that. Nobody talks about the movie anymore.
I think he did Olympus Has Fallen too.
He might have. I can't remember. Anyway, Antoine Fuqua is going to be directing the Michael Jackson biopic for Lionsgate on a script by Bohemian Rhapsody's Graham King or John Logan's script, who wrote Bohemian Rhapsody. And I'll tell you what, I mean, look, Michael Jackson is, other than Elvis, probably the most notable artist of all time. I don't know that that's a lot of hyperbole to say that. We knew eventually at some point there would be a biopic. But I do hope Lionsgate is ready for the landmines. Because this is, look, maybe Antoine Fuqua can crack the code on this. I just am not 100% sure how you do this movie without pissing off half the people in the country. Because whichever way you go, if you go this way, you're going to piss off this. If you go that way, but I don't know, maybe they found a way to crack the code. It had to happen eventually. It took a while, but here we are. Rob, you're hearing Antoine Fuqua. What do you think about this?
Well, on one hand, I mean, it could be a hard hitting. You know, they had a taskmaster of a father, and if they delve into his early years and his rise to prominence with first the Jackson 5, I guess, and then his solo career, and I mean, it could be a very interesting story. I don't know how far they will delve into anything else, but I mean, I grew up with Michael Jackson's music, and I'll be there when it opens.
Oh, that's cute. I like that.
Chris, I don't know. You're hearing about this. What do you think? Good move, bad move, interesting, not? What do you think?
I mean, obviously, Michael Jackson made quite a mark musically, right? He had 13 number one hits. The only person who surpassed that, is Elvis and Rihanna, I believe. So big music maker who had a tremendous career, but also, like you guys were saying, a lot of murky waters that you have to tread here, right? Do you dive into Neverland Ranch? Do you dive into his very, very tumultuous childhood? What do you tell? What don't you tell? And how do you do this truthfully? Because a lot of times, too, with biopics, we tend to do things with rose-colored glasses. And how do you do that in this scenario where his life and his choices did directly affect a lot of people, and we still don't have clear-cut, resolution on a lot of things that went on in his life? I feel like it's going to be one that's going to be really tough to crack. But yeah, Antoine Fuqua is a great director, so maybe he's the guy.
Now we'll start the never-ending, long until it's announced who's going to play Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
One of our viewers, Magical Sky Wizard, in the live chat wrote, they're going to have to grow someone in a lab to play the role. I mean, really, who do you get to play Michael Jackson? I can't even, off the top of my head, it's going to have to be some newcomer. Because honestly, off the top of my head, I cannot think of anyone off the top of my head that would be fit. And then they're going to probably have to get different actors to play Michael, like depending on if they go in, or who knows, maybe for all we know, it's going to be like that one Steve Jobs biopic where it's like the movie just all took place around the press conference, right? Maybe this whole movie starts at, what was it? Was it the American Music Awards where he first cracked out the moonwalk on national television?
Ooh.
Can't remember if it was the American. Maybe that's where the movie starts. Maybe they have to do his childhood, teenage years. I mean,
it's only the Pepsi commercial.
Well, that's what I was going to say. How much are they going to have to pay to get Pepsi to move?
Maybe they'll pull like a I'm Not There, and it'll be different actors' takes like they did with Bob Dylan.
Ooh,
yeah.
I like that.
Or they might, I forget which biopic did it, like a single day, maybe the day his hair caught on fire. I mean, like the whole, to avoid all the other controversy, you say, we're taking one ridiculous day in the life of Michael Jackson.
And you can move in and out of flashbacks or something.
Yeah, maybe. Anyway, guys, it looks like it's finally happening. They're doing a Michael Jackson biopic. Antoine Fuqua is directing it. What do you think of this? Kudos to Lionsgate. I think this is a ballsy move, and maybe it could pay off in spades. Hey, you want to hit home runs, you got to swing big. So let's see what happens. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's get into another off the top here, shall we? And that one is this. Netflix this morning released a list, a video, if you will, of the save the date. You know, kind of a little preview of, not of their 375 movies coming out this year, but rather of a couple of their big marquee movies that they're leaning into and promoting coming out this year. And I mean, the video starts off, and we go to my screen there, Jonathan. It starts off with a little bit of, hey, looking back at what 2022 was, which, you know what? They had a couple of decent ones in 2022. More than they normally do. They're still terrible at making movies in general, but they had a couple of all right ones in 2022. So they really want to show off what they got coming up in 2023 with this video. And so let's go over a couple of things that they highlighted. Now, this list is coming to us from The Verge. The Verge does not cover in this list, by the way, whatever that one was with Gal Gadot. Because if you saw the video, there's one with Gal Gadot who looks as wooden as ever. But
come on now.
But she did. Come on, tell me she did. Go ahead. Tell me she did.
I can't tell you that.
Now, to be fair, it's 2.5 lines, right? Depending on the context of the scene that we do not know, maybe that's exactly how she was supposed to sound. So anyway, go by. I can't remember, but I don't remember what the name of the project
but it's like a spy thriller.
Is it Heart of Stone?
Heart of Stone.
Might be. It could be Heart of Stone. Perhaps.
And Rebel Moon. First clips from Rebel Moon.
Well, we'll go into that right now. So here's the list. So one of the films that a lot of people are excited about is a Luther film.
That's awesome.
Wait.
A lot of people super excited for that. That's a high profile one for them. This one looks interesting. Mother, with Jennifer Lopez, stars as a former assassin. It's always good when a synopsis starts with former assassin. I always like those. Stars as a former assassin who finally decides to come out of hiding in order to find and protect the daughter she initially gave up in order to keep her safe from harm. The movie also stars Joseph Fiennes, who of course is Ralph Fiennes' brother, and it comes out on May 12th. So that one looks kind of interesting to me. I like the looks of that.
For my birthday.
Next one up, we've got Extraction 2. I get it. I am totally in the minority on this. 100%. I get it. I understand. The first Extraction was not a good movie. It had some terrific action.
Yeah.
But it was ridiculous. I mean, it really was. I just do not think it was a good movie. But listen, I'm in the minority. A lot of people really, really liked it. And so doing another one, no brainer.
I mean, they're in the snow. This could be the Empire Strikes Back of the Extraction franchise.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
One never
it's like
knows.
You peered into my soul.
Because that's what I see right there. He's on the top of an AT-AT right now, trying to get in.
He's trying to get in.
I just thought he was looking at Jennifer Lawrence.
Or he's
Jennifer
Lopez. So
That
they explain it as this: Chris Hemsworth is back as Australian Black Ops mercenary Tyler Rake, which is of course such an 80s action hero name. In director Sam Hargrave's follow-up to the first Extraction. When the innocent family of a ruthless Georgian gangster, and by Georgia, they don't mean like Atlanta, Georgia, Georgian gangster wind up in prison, Tyler is tasked with returning them safely unharmed. So it's another Extraction. So we go back to that. It looks like he's healed well from his massive wounds that he had in the last film. All right, next up, this one looks interesting. Got Jamie Foxx, John Boyega, and they cloned
This
Tyrone.
trailer was off the hook. Remember when this trailer dropped months ago? Oh, man.
Well, because this movie was originally supposed to come out in 2022.
Yes. And I loved this trailer. I can't wait to see this movie.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this one too.
I want to see it in a theater with a big audience, though.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, that won't be happening unless Netflix tries it again. All right, next up, we got Damsel. And director Juan Carlos, I don't know how to pronounce his last names. Damsel Millie Bobby Brown stars as a young damsel who's mostly fine with the idea of being married off to a handsome prince right up until she realizes that the entire arrangement is not what it seems. Sounds like the setup to Princess Bride, to be honest with you. As now it seems, while the young girl would be cool with marriage, when she realizes that the royal family actually means to sacrifice her to a dragon, again, very much sounds like Princess Bride, minus the dragon.
That sounds like Dragon Slayer.
She finds herself trapped in a cave and forced to use wits if she wants to make it out alive. You know what? I never would have thought it in my head. Sign me up with some Millie Bobby Brown as an action star.
I'm in.
I'm looking at this. I'm not a fan of her. What's the name of her Holmes movie?
Enola Holmes.
I'm to be honest, I'm not a fan of the Enola Holmes movies. But sign me up. I think this looks kind of cool. So, right. So that's Damsel. Leo looks like a bag of shit. Not even going to talk about it. It does. It looks terrible. The animation looked cheap and everything. I have no interest in that. Leave the World Behind.
I'm about to.
Leave the World Behind. This sounds interesting. Tells the story of two families vacationing on Long Island whose fun is cut short by a massive sudden blackout that seemingly leaves much of the island without power. As the families try to figure out what's going on, two mysterious figures appear, warning them. It sounds a little bit like Knock at the Cabin. Two mysterious figures appear, warning them that there's more to the blackouts than it seems.
Oh my God! And Kevin Bacon, come on.
Sign me up, dude. This sounds
Julia
awesome.
Roberts, Mahershala Ali, Ethan Hawke. I mean, come on, Kevin Bacon. It's like, sign me up. It does sound a lot like Knock at the Cabin, but still, sign me up. And of course, Rebel Moon, the new Zack Snyder film, Rebel Moon. Life is peaceful for those who call the colonies on the outer edge of the galaxy home, but when the destructive armies of the tyrannical regent, blah, 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 threaten the colony's way of life, a young woman named Cora, who is not an airbender, steps up to build an army of their own and defend themselves. Of course, stars Sofia Boutella, Djimon Hounsou, and of course we got Dave Bautista in there as well. When I first saw the headlines, the first tease of Rebel Moon is out. This is this morning. I was going through everything, right? I was hoping to see a little bit more.
Me too.
Now, granted, to be fair, this is the same thing as their Save the Date 2022 video when they just give a brief glimpse look at, what was the Chris Evans, Ryan Gosling one?
Gray Man.
The
Gray Man, right. Like Gray Man, they just showed a few quick seconds of it. So we only got a couple of quick seconds of it here. I didn't really have had a chance to form any kind of an idea about it. It was really fast, as was all the stuff they showed in this little thing. But yeah, there you go. I mean, listen, chances are these will all be garbage because it's Netflix. But if it's like last year, a couple of these may jump up. And I have to admit, a couple of these look pretty interesting.
Well, Sam
I'm
Esmail,
interested in a few of these. What stood out to you in this list?
Leave the World Behind, because that's the creator of Mr. Robot. And then that Julia Roberts series, the Homebound, when she comes back, the military. I like that. They did 2 seasons of that. And then, of course, Rebel Moon. I'll watch Extraction just to see the action. But most of those things sounded appealing. The Millie Bobby Brown Damsel, is that what it's called?
Yeah. I mean, that could go wrong 1,000 different ways,
Yeah,
but
I
it
mean,
could be
they all
really
could,
fun.
but at least the premises of these are interesting.
Yes.
To me. So they sound cool.
I mean,
And
the
I'm-
Luther seems to be a safe bet.
And I was
Yeah.
going
the
to say
Luther
that
one's an automatic.
that
one looks
might
like it's a
be
home run.
my most because I know Luther. I love Luther, and to see Idris Elba, come on, what's it called? Fallen Son, the fallen,
Luther, the Fallen Son.
fallen son, but son is SUN.
Right.
Man, count me in. Serial killer action with Idris Elba looking for a serial killer. Sign me up.
So I am very, very interested in Rebel Moon
Me too.
but there's one thing that concerns me. I can't remember which outlet it was. One of the outlets was writing about Rebel Moon, and it said it's Zack Snyder's Sucker Punch in space. And I'm like, Zack Snyder, in my opinion, has only ever made one bad movie. And that was it.
Yeah.
Like I even like Army of the Dead. I know you weren't completely thrilled with it. I didn't love it, but I liked Army. So I like every single one of his movies except one. There's only one. And it made me feel a little bit uncomfortable that somebody was comparing it to that, but I don't know.
Sucker Punch is one of those movies like Barbarella, with Jane Fonda's Barbarella.
I love Barbarella.
Well, yeah, I do too. But there are movies that we put on, and then you'll play like classical music as Barbarella plays.
What?
So yeah, so
You're not
if-
fully
so if you're
engrossed
having
in
a
Barbarella?
if you're having a party, you put on like classical music and then a visual that's totally incongruous to the music.
I like to do that with EDM and Jaws.
I mean, you could.
It's a fun ride.
Chris, are there any of these movies that are standing out to you that you're excited about?
Luther's the one that I lost my mind over. I love that series so much. I think it's so good, and I think that's going to be so fun and well done. Everything else here, too, looks good to me. I mean, we're only seeing snippets, so I know you're not crazy about that animation, but I'm going to hold off on judgment on all of these, because so far, it looks like a good lineup. And also, can I just add, this is a much better preview than the year prior's the actors breaking the fourth wall and kind of winking at us of talking about their Netflix movie to us during their Netflix movie.
That wasn't so good.
I'm a much bigger fan of how they executed this one. But I think a lot of this looks really, really great. And I am really hyped for Millie Bobby Brown to make some new changes in her career. I'm excited to see what she's doing.
Getting that Netflix money.
Yeah. She's
Now-
been producing and stuff too. She's awesome.
Okay, in Leo's defense, in the animated film Leo's defense, it is a 74-year-old lizard being voiced by Adam Sandler. There's some potential.
Yeah.
I think Bill Burr does one of the voices in it as well. So, I mean, okay. Yeah, we'll
Do you
see.
think Bill Burr will have an accent of some kind?
Some kind of heavy Bobby
Some kind of-
Boston
some-
accent? Yeah. Yeah, I would put money on that.
Is one of these movies? I saw a trailer. I think it was Adam Sandler and Jennifer Aniston.
Oh, yeah, it's Murder Mystery 2.
Was that a Netflix movie?
Yes, and it's
It's in
the
that trailer.
thing. Yep.
Okay, I was going to say what. Okay.
Yep. The first one was a swift kick to the balls, but
Yeah.
I mean, hey, a lot of people liked him. I
He's
thought it
got a
was
sweet,
awful.
sweet Netflix deal. So
Yes, he does. Man, Adam Sandler is such a world-class actor. I really wish he would just get back to doing some just dramas. Like, leave this Netflix garbage behind. But whatever. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What did you think of this Save the Date 2023 Netflix video? Listen, I'm very skeptical about Netflix original movies, but even I got to say, there's some interesting looking stuff here that could end up being some diamonds in the rough. Which one stood out to you? Whatever you guys think, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's go on to another off the top here, shall we? And that one is this. There's a few what we would call perfect castings in comic book movies. A few we would call that. Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool. Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark. Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin.
Henry Cavill.
Henry Cavill as damn Superman. I would put another name on that list, even though it's just a supporting character. J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson. He owned it. He was that guy. And you know what? It
You
didn't matter
serious?
which of the movies you put him in. Didn't matter if it was in the Sam Raimi ones. Didn't matter if it was in the Sony Marvel partnership ones. He's like the perfect J. Jonah. And now, you can bring it up here. It's he was being interviewed, and he's talking about how not only would he be totally willing to come back and play J. Jonah again for the MCU, he's also saying, hey man, I'll do a Sam Raimi Spider-Man 4.
Yeah, he loves money.
if they if they want me to. So they were specifically asked him if he'd be interested in doing another one of the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, and he said, absolutely, I would do anything if Sam Raimi approached me with. I mean, almost anything. So he was saying, look, you want me in this one? I'll do this one. You want me in that one? I'll do that one. And look, I always talk about how actors are exchangeable. They are. And you absolutely can go out and get another actor to play J. Jonah. You absolutely can. But this would be ideal. It would be ideal to keep J.K. Simmons, Academy Award winner J.K. Simmons, on the payroll, playing this role as long as he is willing to play it, because he's great in it. It doesn't matter how old he gets. He can play J. Jonah for the next 4 generations of Spider-Man. Because it doesn't matter. J. Jonah can be a 93-year-old, like way later. It doesn't matter. So I love hearing these comments. Chris, you heard JK talking about that. I don't know. Do you think he could? I mean, let's make one thing clear. I do not think there's ever going to be a Spider-Man 4, as in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 4. But I know, do you think if they did ever, and they still had the MC1 going, do you think it could be both?
I absolutely think so. J.K. Simmons is JJ to all of us, right?
Yes, he is.
He is this character. I can pay in meat. Like, he's iconic in this role. It's so good. And I love when he does stuff like this, where he does get to kind of go back to these campy roots too, because he is just a consummate actor, right? He can deliver such amazing performances, and then he can go dabble in the VO world, be in the yellow M&M, being Tenzin. You know, he can do all kinds of fun stuff. But I love him in this part, and if he's having fun doing it, by God, let him do it again, especially with Sam. Come on.
I would simply say this, though. Give him his hair back. Just give him it. Look, it doesn't really matter. He doesn't have to have the hair. It just feels more right when he's got the hair. I don't know, Rob, what do you think about this?
Well, I mean, like all of us, I love him as J. Jonah Jameson. You're absolutely right. I mean, that was perfect casting. And he's clearly having so much fun playing that part. You serious? I mean, I love that. And look, like you said, who wouldn't want to have him come back? I like the idea that he's even thinking about a Sam Raimi Spider-Man 4.
Yeah,
I want to see that.
Well, he was
movie.
Directly asked about it. He was asked about it, but still.
I know, but it's just great to hear that he would come back, because I think that he's kind of essential. You know, the J. Jonah Jameson character is essential when it comes to Spider-Man. You've got to have him. We haven't really seen Tom Holland. I mean, we've seen that J. Jonah Jameson, but is he going to work for the Daily Bugle? Like, what's going to happen there?
Well, remember, right now, isn't the Daily Bugle more of a...
It's InfoWars.
Yeah, it's what he's doing at it. It's the modern iteration of InfoWars.
It's sad.
Newsmax.
All right, guys, question is for you. What do you think about that? JK says, hey, I'll go back to Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, whatever. Do you think, listen, maybe you think it's time for the baton of J. Jonah to be passed on to another actor. That's totally understandable too. Maybe you're like, oh, it's essential to get him back. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's do one more off the top here, shall we? And that one is this. Avatar: The Way of Water. You know, with all the people over the last couple of years saying, no one cares. It's gonna be a bust. No one's going to go see it, you know, all that kind of stuff. And for years, we've been saying, do not be in the doubting James Cameron business. This movie's going to be a hit. And even some people like me who still knew it was going to be a hit, it's even exceeded my expectations. Like, I expected it to top out at about 1.7, but like at the top end, but it's already exceeded even those expectations. The movie just continues to roll. We talked, of course, last week where it became the number 7 biggest film in the history of Hollywood. Well, now, according to Variety, Avatar: The Way of Water has officially now passed Spider-Man: No Way Home for the number 6 film of all time. It has now officially crossed the $1.92 billion mark, which, excuse me, moves it just past and nudges Spider-Man out of the way down into 7th spot. Now, let's go over and take a look at the top list of all time here. Now, this list hasn't been updated yet, because up until today, Avatar, as you can see down there, was in the number 7 spot, right? At 1.91. It is now up over 1.92. It's over 1.921, which pushes it past Spider-Man No Way Home. So Spider-Man No Way Home, which has been now nudged down to the number 7 spot of all time. Still, whoever saw Spider-Man No Way Home making $1.9 billion at the box office. Absolutely incredible. So The Way of Water, yet another accomplishment for it, moves into the number 6 spot. Now, sitting about, what are we talking? 125 million? About 125 million, 127 million behind Avengers Infinity War for it to crack into the top 5. Which, again, even the people who were optimistic about Avatar: The Way of Water and who knew it would be a hit, like me, did not necessarily think it would crack that all-time top 5. And now it's got Avengers Infinity War in its sights. Now, it's never going to catch Avengers Endgame. It's never going to catch the first Avatar, all that kind of stuff. I even have severe doubts it's going to catch Titanic. But, I mean, look, it's got Avengers Infinity War in its sights next. After that, it's not too much further along to catch up to Star Wars Episode 4, The Force Awakens. Anyway, Rob, I feel like every day there's a new milestone being set, a new hurdle being jumped by Avatar: The Way of Water. It's now officially past Spider-Man. What stands out to you?
That it doesn't surprise me in the slightest. Big Jimmy C back, taking the throne. The trifecta, top 5 of those movies is going to be one of his every step of the way. You know, what is it? He would have 5, 3, and 1.
If it catches Avengers Infinity War,
Yeah.
he will have the number 5 all-time movie with Avatar 2, the number 3 all-time movie with Titanic, and the number 1 all-time movie with... Look, I know we've said it before. You don't underplay this, people. One man would have 3 of the top 5. Right now, one man has 3 of the top 6.
Well,
I mean, now pretty soon it's going to be 3 of the top 5, all by one guy.
and you think about it, I mean, one dude and his movies, $7 billion. I mean, $1 billion, I don't think people quite understand. $1 billion's a lot. I mean, it's a lot more than $1 million. A lot more. It's a lot more than 100 million. It's a lot more than 500 million. It's a lot.
We're now heading into the Myers math classroom.
I mean, it's
1 billion is more than 1 million.
It's a lot, man. I mean, but that's a huge. I mean, there are not very many movies that have made $1 billion in the world, just in the entire history of humanity. But one dude to make 3, I don't think that will ever happen again in all of human history, to be honest.
Well, 3 in the $2 billion.
Well, yeah, 3 in the 2, but yes, that's what I mean. 3 in the 2 billion or 3 billion range, and he's going to do it again in 2024.
Yeah. Now it's important for everybody to realize that week after week, while it has had incredible legs, its returns are shrinking and shrinking, as all films do.
Yeah.
And you know, but man, that top 5. I mean, 2 billion is still clearly in its marks. Avengers Infinity War is clearly in sight.
And this is despite him saying no one will see it because it's too long. Like his own genius marketing.
What I find so
reverse
interesting,
psychology.
Yeah.
you know, is why. You know, I think what is it about? And I mean, I think just the way, for whatever reason, the man, he knows how to make films, but he also appeals to, because there's all these people, well, you know, Avatar doesn't have much of a pop culture presence. And yes, it does. I mean, clearly it does. It doesn't have like the merchandising. It doesn't have the extended universe, but now it kind of does.
Well, now it does. See, here's the thing. While I've always said this movie's going to be a hit, it's going to succeed, I happen to agree with the people who say that Avatar has not, because it hasn't. It has not had a sustained pop cultural presence, right? Like, and that's
Because it was a one-off.
right. But people thought that just because it didn't have an active pop cultural presence, like you still see Heath Ledger's Joker costumes at Halloween, you still see Star Wars all over the place, right? But people thought that just because it didn't have an active pop cultural presence, that it was going to flop. And I think both could be true. I think on the one hand, it hasn't had a sustained pop cultural presence per se over the past 12 years, but because it's still James Cameron, the first Avatar didn't have any pop cultural presence either before it came out, and it's the #1 film of all time. And that's where I think the confusion came in.
But I think that all these other things have these huge, ongoing, decades-long legacies of, it's not just I mean, Avatar was only a one-off
Yeah,
movie.
yeah.
You know, and all the things that do have a pop culture presence, for the most part, are part of a franchise or have multiple films. Whereas Avatar only had one, and it did what it was supposed to do. Came out, most successful movie of all time, and went away. But now, dude, they just announced, they made one Avatar hot toy of Jake Sully. They announced this week that they're going to do Jake again and Neytiri and the birds that they fly on.
Oh, those would look awesome.
Dude, insane. And I'm like, I don't know how much those are going to cost. I mean, I hope
That's going to be huge at 6 scale.
Huge. I mean, they're giants.
But they're not going to come out till Avatar 4, probably.
Until 2024. And I hope they haven't announced the birds, whatever they're called, the dragons. I forget the name. But amazing.
Chris, again, it's another milestone for Avatar: The Way of Water. Where does it stop?
It's crossing 2 billion. It really is. I absolutely think this. I've been saying it for the past few years. It's going to hit that mark. And also, I would argue that as part of like that pop cultural zeitgeist, there's parody porn of Avatar.
Well,
if you get a parody
that is
porn
the
made
litmus
of you,
test, right?
Yeah, you have lasting effects then.
As long as and you should see what they do with their tails in that. Yeah, that's pretty. But seriously, like, it continues to climb. Look, I didn't think anything was gonna hit Spider-Man: No Way Home
right
for a while. Like when that hit 1.9 billion, which blew everybody's minds, I thought, well, that's going to be untouched for a while, maybe until the next Avengers movie comes out. But here we are. Question is for you guys. What do you think about this? Avatar: The Way of Water has now passed Spider-Man: No Way Home into the number 6 spot. It's now zeroing in on Avengers: Infinity War at $2.04 billion. Can it get there? It's got to get to $2 billion first. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that all down, let's now get over to our Mint Mobile hotline question of the day. If you guys have a question for the show and would like to hear your voice on our show, go ahead and call our Mint Mobile hotline. Not a lot of people know this. This is actually Ryan Reynolds' personal cell phone number. He just passages the messages on to us. Call us at 951-268-4259, and maybe you'll hear your voice on our show. And today's question is interesting. It's asking, hey, why did the critics get the entire season of Last of Us to watch? Check it out.
Hi, my name is Lauren. Quick question. Typically in the gaming world, reviewers are given the whole game to review. So when they release the reviews, it's the entire game they're reviewing. With The Last of Us being a video game, do you think that is why they gave reviewers the entire season to review it, kind of like a video game is reviewed? Thank you.
Salbro, thank you for calling in. Yeah, look, this is interesting because for the most part, what we normally see is critics will get the first 4. In the case of Andor, we got the first 4 episodes. And some other shows, they got the first 3 episodes and whatever, and then they review from there. And there's a lot of different reasons for doing that. You don't want it, the information to get out there too much. You want to keep things certain limited. But it's not the first time that critics have been giving an entire season to look at. Now, look, traditionally speaking, that's never been possible with traditional cable television, because literally as a show is airing, they are still shooting that season. Like I remember when, I was talking to Stephen Amell once when he was doing Arrow, the season had started. We were at episode 3, but he was still flying out to Vancouver the next day to continue shooting episodes 16 and 17. And so before and traditionally giving critics the television show in advance was not a feasible thing. It's only once we've gotten into the world of streaming that's kind of become a thing. And it has happened from time to time. Why then, in the case of The Last of Us, did they decide to give the reviewers the full season? I think there are 2 reasons. And neither of them are because it's a video game. Yeah, you're right. Video game critics get the full game. They don't just get, here's level 1 of this game, right? They don't do that. But this is different. They didn't hand this out just because it was a video game first. I think, first of all, because it is limited, that it's only 9 episodes once they combine the first 2. It is absolutely complete. So that was the case. A lot of times, sometimes there's still some post-production work being done on final episodes or what have you. But in this case, Last of Us was totally done. But the real reason I believe that unlike Andor and unlike other shows where the critics get a first couple of episodes, the reason I believe mainly that critics got the full season of The Last of Us is one word: confidence. They knew they had a baller show. They knew they had a fantastic show. And I don't think the folks at Warner Brothers and HBO Max wanted there to be a narrative of, well, yeah, but the first episode of She-Hulk was great, and look how that turned out. Okay, I mean me. That's me saying that. The first episode of oh, fine. The first episode of Obi-Wan was awesome. Look how that turned out. I don't think they wanted that narrative, but I think they knew that they knew that they knew our show rules. And we know it, and we know they're going to know it. So let's give them the whole thing. Let's just give them the whole thing and let that word of mouth. And by the way, they weren't really worried about spoilers because 40 million people have played these games.
Right, exactly.
So they weren't worried about spoilers. So it's like, you know what? We don't have to worry about spoilers getting out. Not that the critics would do it anyway. The whole thing is complete. It's ready to go. And we know that they're going to love this because we just made something awesome. And so I think those are primarily the reasons why they did that. Anyway, Chris, you know, you're in SAG. You've had to deal with, you know, watching people and critics do stuff like that. We've seen critics get, you know, limited number of episodes for a show to review. Why do you think that they gave the full series of The Last of Us out?
I think you nailed it. I think it is confidence. And I think it also is, we still have this idea of the video game curse, right? Of there can't be good adaptations of video games. And especially when you're working with a video game that's been lauded so much. The Last of Us, I feel, and I think a lot of people feel, is the game changer for video games. It showed people that these are beautiful stories with wonderful narratives, cinematic moments that can really, really just break your heart. And I think they needed to show these critics, hey, we nailed this. What we added only enhanced the story further. What we did shot for shot is magical and is going to make people who love this game feel really, really great. If you are a hardcore gamer, you will enjoy this. If you are brand new to this story, hold on to your butts. I think they really knew they had a great product here. And I say that as somebody who has only seen that first episode, but everything I've read from other people who have been seeing more of this, getting the full series, have absolutely adored this. And I think HBO knows they have a hit on their hands.
It was, I mean, listen, those critics who saw the whole thing, it's 99% on Rotten Tomatoes. 99%. Anyway, Rob, it's not unheard of, but it's unusual that we're seeing an entire series being given to the critics. Why do you think they did it?
Well, like you guys said, quality is number one, but also I think also to combat the idea that it's a video game adaptation at all. Because there's a lot of there's a lot of pushback. People are like, critics are critics, and I think they wanted to overcome oh great, another video game adaptation. The idea that, because people that have not played The Last of Us, and there is a perception in the world of what a video game is, and I think that, like the game itself, the fact that this story at its core is a very emotional, very familial, it's a father and his proxy daughter going through an ordeal, a crucible of this post-infection world. And the fact that it is so emotional and that at its core, like all the great stories, it's a relationship story. And the idea
look at that image.
I
can't wait to see that.
I can't wait. The idea that, and also the idea that, it's just another zombie story, all of these things, because it was so high quality, they put to rest any of that. There's going to be they're not going to say, it's just a video game movie or adaptation. They're going to say, no, this is terrific television. This is a great narrative, and it's beautifully done. So they kill all the birds that they needed to kill. They show it's the confidence in their story. They get rid of the narrative that it's another video game adaptation. No, it's a lot more than that. And I think that they did it. They did it, like you said, 99% on Rotten Tomatoes pretty much shows that their confidence in the show was correct, and they've completely overcome anybody's apprehensions that they're watching a video game adaptation. They did a great job.
Guys, question is for you. What do you think about that? They took the not unheard of, but unusual step of giving the entire series to the critic pool. Looks like it's a gamble that paid off for them. Why do you think they did that? Whatever your thoughts are, jump down into the comment section below and leave your thoughts there. All right, guys, with that down, we're going to move into our main topics here in just a second. But before we do, we're going to take just one moment and thank one of the sponsors of today's episode. You guys really do need to check them out because they're fantastic. Our friends at MasterClass. We want to thank a sponsor of this video, MasterClass. MasterClass offers classes on a wide variety of topics, all taught by world-class instructors at the very top of their fields. Each class is broken out into individual video lessons, usually around 10 minutes long. And MasterClass is completely accessible on your phone, the web, smart TV, and available via audio mode to listen to classes on the go. They have over 2,500 video lessons from over 180 of today's most brilliant minds. They're all available anytime, anywhere on iOS, Android, desktop, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, and Roku. Now, obviously around here on the John Campea Show, we love our movies, so why not learn filmmaking from Jodie Foster, or maybe directing from Ron Howard himself, or the great Neil Gaiman doing his masterclass on the art of storytelling. And you guys have heard me talk about my favorite masterclass, Business Strategy and Leadership by Big Papa Iger himself, Bob Iger, the new and returning CEO of Disney. Guys, I highly recommend that you check it out. This holiday, give the perfect gift of an annual Masterclass membership and get one free. Go to masterclass.com/Campea today. That's masterclass.com/Campea. Terms apply. And thank you to our friends at MasterClass for sponsoring this episode of the John Campea Show. Remember, guys, when you support our sponsors, you're actually supporting us. So if you go down to the description of this video, right at the top, you'll find links and promo codes to all of our sponsors today. And thank you again to MasterClass. All right, guys, with that down, let's get into our main topics here today, shall we? And how do we select our main topics here in the show? Well, that's simple. You guys come up with our main topics. See, whenever you come across a big topic, issue, or story that you guys feel we absolutely must cover as a main topic on the show, just go anytime 24/7 over to www.thejohncampeashow.com/contact. Once you guys get there, you'll see a form. Fill it out with your topic or question. It's absolutely free. Hit submit, and then maybe, just maybe, you might see your submission featured as a main topic here on the John Campea Show. With that down, Chris, what is our first main topic today?
Our first topic comes from Sean Beatty. Hi, John and crew. Been watching since I was 15, back during the AMC days.
Wow.
Anyway, my question is if studios will start adapting video games more accurately after the success of The Last of Us. Some scenes are an exact one-to-one remake, same outfits, dialogue, cinematography, etc. Compare this to other adaptations such as Uncharted and Halo, which weren't received well by fans due to them doing their own thing, just using that game's IP. Thanks, and bring on the filthy.
All right. Thanks a lot for sending that in. This is obviously going to be a topic, a question that comes up. Like, look, whenever something does well, we as fans, I've gotten caught up in this too. All of you have too. We as fans go, everything must be like that now. As soon as one thing works or goes well, we're like, everything should be like that. And I get that. So the question with The Last of Us coming out and being so unbelievably fantastic is, well, I mean, look, this Last of Us Episode 1 took some liberties, but it also felt very, very, very true to the game, even though it did both. And where they took liberties, they elevated the content in its adaptation for the screen. So now the question becomes, is this proof that the studio should look at doing more faithful adaptations of the video games? And my answer to that is not necessarily. Because not every game has the story of The Last of Us. We've talked for a while about the fact that, I've said for a long time that there are, on one hand, I can count the number of video games that truly have what I believe is cinematic potential. Like it as they are without adaptation. And one of those has been The Last of Us. I've been saying that for a long time. I think it's the greatest story ever told in video games. There's that. There was a comedian that once said, and I'm only repeating what a comedian said, please do not take offense to this, anybody, that said, somebody asked me once, how much makeup should women wear? To which I replied, it depends on how ugly they are, right? Oof. That is applicable to to video game adaptations. Should other video game adaptations be kept as quote unquote faithful as Last of Us did? Well, no, because there's going to be some games that really do require more adaptation if they're going to work well in a translation to the screen. And then there's going to be some, like The Last of Us, that in its very DNA, it's very rare, but in its very DNA, was a story that was just as it is, will work as a narrative storytelling form on a big or small screen. So it's almost like, to me, Rob, the question about runtime. How long should a movie be? We often say, well, it depends on the movie. Some movies have their perfect sweet spot at 90 minutes, and any longer than that is too long. Some movies have their perfect sweet spot at 3 hours. Any shorter than that would be, it all depends on the movie. And so in asking the question, should studios be more faithful in their translations to the game? It depends on the game. Some of them need more adaptation. Some of them need more translation. And some, like Last of Us, I'm going to guess God of War, maybe a Red Dead Redemption, need a little bit less adaptation. So it depends. I don't know, Rob, how would you address that?
Well, I think any adaptation really has to contain the spirit of what it is that it's adapting. We've seen a lot of, the first thing that popped into mind when you're talking about this is the movie The Running Man with Schwarzenegger and Richard Dawson. That movie bears no resemblance to Stephen King's original novel, which he wrote under the pen name Richard Bachman. You could remake that book. You could take the Running Man book and shoot the book, and people wouldn't change the name. People wouldn't even know that the Running Man was the same. They wouldn't know. I mean, this is nothing like the book. So when I saw Uncharted was the very first video game I ever played where I felt that the story was as compelling as the gameplay. And I was like, we're really moving into a new age. When we all went and saw Uncharted, I didn't like it. I didn't think they did a very good job at adapting that game at all.
You going to tolerate that, Ray? You going to put up with that?
Beginning with, I understand why they cast Tom Holland.
To be fair, though, those trailers, either those were bad trailers or those were very honest trailers for what you were getting in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But I when I sat there and watched that film, I thought to myself the whole time, I'm like, why did they choose to adapt that this way? And I get it. You've got you get Mark Wahlberg and you get Tom Holland. I guess that's not Nathan Drake. That's a kid. He is dressed like Nathan Drake, but he's a kid. He's not Nathan Drake. And the movie didn't feel anything like the wonder, like the game designs and the wonder of all that. And I think that I understand where they were trying to go with it, but it didn't really work. And it should have been a game that made, or a movie that made $500 million worldwide. I mean, it didn't do badly, but I think that they didn't adapt the spirit of the game itself. You didn't get the feel of anything like what it was like to play the game.
Now, on the flip side of that coin, and I think Chris will back me up with this, let's take another video game adaptation that was, frankly, nothing like the game. Sonic.
Mm-hmm.
Sonic was nothing like the game.
But it's a love letter to it.
But it is a love letter to it, but they adapted.
Mm-hmm.
They took that property and said, okay, as it is, you can't make a movie out of this. But if we adapt it, you use the word spirit.
Yes.
You adapt it, make it completely different, but take the spirit of it. And they made Sonic, I think it's fair to say, obviously not everybody loved the Sonic movies, but I think it's fair to say a good majority of us were delighted by the Sonic
and
movies.
those people are entitled to their very wrong opinion. This movie is delightful.
It was delightful. So some movies maybe should be a little bit more, and some should be a little bit less.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing about I don't think that the Sonic game had the kind of narrative structure that Uncharted
but that's the point, right?
Right.
It depends on, and even a game like Uncharted, I would argue, still needed some significant adaptation, but
sure.
But it all depends on the game.
But I think, though, that the character of Sonic, we all understand. I think we understand going into a Sonic movie that there isn't a real narrative for a movie that we're used to that Sonic could possibly be in if you're a fan of the game. But what they did was they took that character, the character of Sonic, they put him in a totally different kind of a narrative. But like you said, you recognize that was Sonic. It's like, that is Sonic. To the point where they had to redesign him to make the spirit more because fans complained. And I think that it's amazing the Sonic movies, both of them actually, are as good as they are, considering where they came from. I mean, that could have been like, imagine making a Pac-Man movie.
Which I think somebody is developing a Pac-Man movie, as a matter of fact. Anyway, Chris, let's go over to you. Like the question is, with Last of Us, which is takes some liberties, but it's pretty damn faithful. Right down to the texture of the wallpaper on the wall in Joel's apartment. Should all games strive to be that faithful, or should all movies and TV shows based on video games strive to be that faithful? Or I don't know. How do you see it?
No, but all games, all adaptations should strive to be respectful and loving of their source material. Because that's what works for Sonic, is you have these beautiful Easter eggs, you have some sound effects, you have some music, you have all of these things that you can pull right from the game, ringtones that are used, and you go, oh my gosh, these people love Sonic. It's kind of like when you watch something like a Velma, where you go, do these people like animation? The animators who were involved in that show, I think, did an incredible job. The writers, there are some moments where you go, do you like this source material and do you like this medium? It feels like you don't. And when we look at things too, like comic books that have been translated, Watchmen is a almost panel for panel in some parts adaptation, and it didn't translate well. So it really just depends on how you can utilize the medium to your advantage to still stay truthful to the story, but do that storytelling well. And I think The Last of Us is doing a really great mix of that. And I hope moving forward, people who do come to these projects just have that respect for it and go, hey, I'm going to take this and I'm going to translate it, and I'm going to do a few things my way, but I'm going to make sure that these fans still like it too.
I mean, it also comes down to like something I say all the time: winning cures everything, right? Because here's what I think is I like what you brought up there about being respectful of things. Here's what it is: if you could get two filmmakers that each equally respect the source material, and one makes one that's a good movie and one makes one that's a bad movie, we as fans will say the one that made the bad movie wasn't respectful, and the one
That's
that
true.
it's all about winning. It's all about, did you make a good movie? Because if Sonic turned out badly, people, if you had the same Easter eggs and whatever, but it didn't have that heart and the charm that they were able to create, we would say they weren't respectful of the source material. But it was charming and wonderful and fun. So we say that it is. Again, we and I include myself in this, we as film fans are very, very fickle sometimes, but winning cures everything, losing exasperates things, it seems like. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? The Last of Us is an absolute triumph. And part of that reason is because they took a story that translates really damn well and they stayed really faithful to it. But does that mean all of them should, or do some of them need more heavy adaptation than others? Whatever you guys think about that, jump down into the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys, with that down, let's get into main topic number 2, shall we? Chris, what is our second main topic today?
This one comes from Christian Hanna. Hey, John and crew. Today, the nominations for the Visual Effects Society Awards have been released. Avatar: The Way of Water broke the all-time record for the most nominations with 14, while Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, a movie I thought was a frontrunner for a VFX Oscar nomination, got 0. Even Black Adam got 1 nomination. This is an unprecedented omission. Does Doctor Strange still get that Visual Effects Oscar nom?
I don't know that I would call it an unprecedented omission at all. I thought Doctor Strange was visually was a very interesting film. I thought like that whatever you call the name of the creature that's in the first part of the movie attacking down in the downtown city streets, I mean, I thought that looked fun and wonderful and kind of crazy and all that kind of stuff. But there are only certain numbers of nominations that can be given out. And remember, it's not about the quality of the movie. It's about the effects and how they were used and all that kind of stuff. Well, the Visual Effects Society, which is basically like the visual effects version of SAG or the DGA, they put out their nominations, and there's a lot of them, but we'll go through some of the key ones here. Here's some of the nominations that they did. Now, in their big main award, Outstanding Visual Effects in a Photoreal Feature, Avatar: The Way of Water, Fantastic Beasts and the Secrets of Dumbledore. And you know what? I had totally forgotten about this movie, but once I read that it got this nomination, I went, you know what? The effects in that were really damn good. Think what you want about the movie itself. The effects in that movie were really damn good. Again, Jurassic World Dominion. It's not about the movie being great. The effects were fantastic. The Batman. Remember, it's not all just about CGI. Top Gun Maverick also was. So there's your 5 big nominees: Top Gun Maverick, Jurassic World Dominion, Fantastic Beasts, Secret of Dumbledore, and Avatar: The Way of Water. Also, some other big visual effects heavy movies not on that list: Black Adam, Thor: Love and Thunder, a few others as well. But those are your big ones. Now, there are a few other interesting ones. And now, then I don't understand this. I'm going to have to ask somebody at the VES the visual effects side. What is a supporting visual effect? I'm not quite sure what that means, but they're outstanding visual effects in a photoreal feature, supporting visual effects. I'm going to assume that means in a not heavy visual effects movie.
It's a visual effect with underwire.
Is that what it means?
I assume. I'm just only speaking in broad terms.
They have Death on the Nile, I Want to Dance with Somebody, The Fabelmans, Gray Man, and Pale Blue Eyes, and 13 Lives. So I'm assuming that means in a film that doesn't have a ton of visual effects.
Or it means not just a ton of visual effects, but something that's looking to recreate reality. That's photoreal, but what's the difference between supporting? Well, like for instance, if you're going to create like a building or something, or maybe like David Fincher, how he recreated San Francisco in Zodiac. I don't know. All right.
Then we move on to outstanding visual effects in an animated feature. Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, which I think was the big nomination winner with the animated films. Mad God, Strange World, The Bad Guys, The Sea Beast, and Turning Red. Outstanding visual effects in a photoreal episode. So we're talking about television now. House of the Dragon, The Black Queen, Prehistoric Planet, Ice Worlds, Stranger Things 4, The Piggyback, and The Boys, Payback, and The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, Udon. In outstanding supporting visual effects in a photoreal episode, again, I don't even want to bother with those ones. I don't know even know what some of these categories are.
Say that at the awards too.
Outstanding visual effects in a real-time project. Not sure what that means because we got some video games. Is that what it is? Anyway, God of War Ragnarok, Gotham Knights, Supermassive Games, The Quarry, The Castillo Protocol, the Callisto Protocol, sorry, and The Last of Us Part 1?
I'm thinking that's they redid it for PS5.
Oh, yeah. Right, they did a remaster.
This probably has to do with like effects that are being generated on the fly by Unreal Engine or something. Yeah.
Right, then they've got a whole bunch of different like effects for other things other than movies and TV shows. This is the neat one. Outstanding animated character in a photoreal feature. I love that. I love that category. Avatar: The Way of Water's character, Kiri. Beast, the lion. You know what? That's a low budget little film. I was stunned how good the lion looked in that movie. That's an Idris Elba film if you haven't seen it. It's actually kind of fun. Disney's Pinocchio, Honest John, and the Slumberland Pig. So anyway, there they are, a whole bunch of things. But again, the main ones for our interests, particularly going into Oscar season, their nominees by the Visual Effects Society: Avatar, Fantastic Beasts, Jurassic World, The Batman, Top Gun: Maverick. Rob, you see the list? Anything like how well do you think that's going to compare to the Oscar list that comes out?
Well, I think pretty close because it's the branches of the Academy also that are voting on these things, and I think this is a great list. I mean, going back to what the viewer asked about Doctor Strange, the thing about Doctor Strange is there wasn't any groundbreaking effects in Doctor Strange, so there's a lot of effects, but they've been done before. There's nothing that they're doing like with Top Gun: Maverick. They were reskinning real planes, so to make them look absolutely realistic, which is something, as far as I know, was never done before. They were using real aircraft that they went back that were in the sky, and then they skinned them with different aircraft, so they looked different, but you still had the qualities of something really flying, which had never been done before. And it was absolutely, completely convincing.
Oh, it was like, I think there's probably a lot of people hearing that going, wait a minute, they did what?
Yeah.
It looks so good.
Like the plane in the beginning that Tom Cruise is flying, the test, that's not a real plane, but you never know it. I mean, it was incredible. And that's what I think the visual effects are honoring, the people that are, pushing these boundaries that have never been pushed before. Whereas the Marvel films like Thor: Love and Thunder and Doctor Strange, they've been doing this. They have a factory doing these things, but there wasn't any groundbreaking effects in those movies. They were just refined.
Chris, 2 questions for you. Mm-hmm. Number one, how do you think this list will compare when the Oscar nomination for Best Visual Effects come out? And and also I've said that the number one, I think, lock for this year's Oscars is Cate Blanchett winning for Tar.
Yeah.
But outside of the acting, I mean, should they just mail the Oscar to Avatar: The Way of Water at this point? I know, could there be one that actually poses a threat to it? What do you think?
I'm honestly not sure because it does break so many barriers. I will say, we've talked about this before too. Jonathan has brought it up of how sometimes the motion smoothing was a little off-putting. So I don't think it's as perfect as sometimes we all talk about it to be. It is groundbreaking. It is incredible. And I'm certainly not capable of doing anything of this nature. So I don't want to sound like I'm poo-pooing on something. So I think there's possibility for other things like those things you guys mentioned where we just took for granted that they were special effects. Because that's always one of my favorite things of talking about a movie with Rob too, of when it's, oh, that wasn't real? Oh, wait, that's something someone did in post? What? No, I didn't even catch that. And I think there's something to be said about that kind of really lifelike work that you can do and create something completely from scratch, completely digitally, and have your, non-post-production audience go, yeah, I assume that's a plane. I think that's really incredible. So I think there's still room for some surprises when it comes to the effects.
I'll tell you what, as somebody who used to work in visual effects, there's a clip of this scene that's in one of the trailers. So this isn't spoiling anything, but there's a scene in the movie where there is Jake and Natiri and a couple of Na'vi on for lack of a better term, like the aircraft carrier, if you will. And it's dark and there's fires going on. And these CG characters are in with live actors, like human characters. And they're fighting these human characters in this weird set, this ship that's sinking sort of thing, while it's dark and there's fires and the lighting and the shading. And I remember watching that. Like, there's a number of things in Avatar: The Way of Water that make my jaw drop. But that, as I was watching that and going, I cannot believe how real this looks. Like, I couldn't believe it.
I had the same feeling. It's a daytime shot when they're going out on the boat, and Quaritch, it's bright sunlight.
Oh, yeah,
and Quaritch
yeah.
is the water on the boat's going, and they sit next to the
And
lake.
he's standing there with a human character.
Yeah, I felt the same way. I was looking at this going, dude, I'm the kid that read every issue of Cinefex magazine, and I'm looking at this going, this is jaw-dropping. And I know it's just because it was absolutely, because you know how things look in the sunlight with you don't even people don't even like to shoot when the sun's overhead because the light is so flat.
Yeah. Their achievement in effects were the scenes where you weren't even thinking about special effects.
Exactly.
No, yeah,
And that's the gold standard of
you didn't even
special
realize.
effects.
And that shot of Kiri, when that they're using the
Underwater?
underwater.
Oh my
because
God.
there's no water. They were shooting they were doing underwater motion capture, but nothing else was there in a tank. They just wanted the movement. It's insane. That movie's insane. The effects technology, Weta Digital, insane.
Yeah, let's put it this way. I will be shocked. It's not impossible, but I will be shocked if Avatar: The Way of Water does not win this visual effects.
Literally every single shot has an effect in it. That's why they're worried about if they can get Avatar 3 done for Christmas of 2024, because even with the render times now, if they rendered the shots they've already got, it's going to take 2 years to render them out.
I think a lot of people don't understand how long rendering takes.
Oh, especially
Rendering those
what
files.
resolution they're rendering at.
What's that, Jonathan?
Rendering those files.
I mean, look, listen. There's a reason that you sometimes you'll hear. We should move on, but just quickly, you'll hear the term sometime render farms, where it's literally, and we had this at the company we had a closet where we literally had 16 computers, all set up just in a closet, all set up, connected to our network, where like each frame. Now this is back when we were still dealing with like Pentium 4s or whatever, but each frame, 24 frames per second, each frame was taking like 95 minutes to render. I mean, so you'd have all these computers and these render farms with all of their processors, each working on frames. And look, Pixar has an incredible render farm, like incredible, but even that takes a long time.
And when they have the high frame rate, they shot those things at 48 frames, so they have to render them out 48 frames for a second. I can't even imagine.
Anyway, guys, question is for you. The VES has spoken. What do you think about a lot of their nominations? Do you think this list will end up being the list that gets the Oscar nominations? Do you think one or two of these bump out and maybe something else makes their way in? What are the chances of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness? You know what? I can honestly see maybe Doctor Strange maybe bumping out a Fantastic Beasts, even though I think the effects in that were fantastic. I don't know. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to main topic number 3. Chris, what is our third main topic today?
Our third topic comes from Marcus Glenn. Hi, John. Probably the biggest announcement coming out of D23 this year was the lineup for Thunderbolts, but we haven't really heard much since. So today I read an interview with Julia Louis-Dreyfus, and she was saying the movie will shoot this summer in June, and that she's insisting on doing combat and fighting in the movie. What do you think about this, and are you excited for the movie? Thanks.
All right, thanks a lot for writing that in, Marcus. And look, I've said this before, but I will acknowledge it again. I had very little interest in the Thunderbolts movie. Very little interest. I thought it sounded like a second-rate Disney Plus show, to be honest. I did. I thought this is something they can just shuffle off to be some additional content, lower, but whatever. And then the biggest, nay, the only interesting thing that was announced at D23 was they came out with the cast. And when you look at that cast, and you know what, Taylor, bring up the main thumbnail of the show here today, because I want to take a look at that cast. When they announced the cast, and which was also essentially letting us know who the characters in the movie were going to be, we suspected Yelena, but the fact that Bucky was, and we suspected Walmart Captain America. And I mean, Ghost, there were some rumors about Ghost. Good to see Ghost back. I loved the Ghost character in Ant-Man 2. But David Harbour and Bucky. What's David Harbour's name again? The Red
Guardian.
Red Guardian.
Yeah.
Red Guardian and Bucky being in that made me go, huh. And I've really grown to like Yelena, because I didn't like the Hawkeye series all that much. Yelena was one of the highlights in that series for me. And all of a sudden I came out at that D23 weekend going, oh, am I looking forward to Thunderbolts? Oh my God, I think I am. I think I'm excited about Thunderbolts. And that has remained to today. The only question has been like, is it really going to happen? When are they going to get rolling on this? Well, according to stories now, they are moving forward this June with going ahead, and they're going to go into production, which means, and I spoke to somebody about this yesterday, that the pre-production on this apparently has been insane. Like they're talking about the offices there are going 24 hours, almost in shifts, getting the pre-production all done and working on this. They are heavily at work on Thunderbolts already, which of course would be for a movie of this scale. Let's bring up the site there.
Oh, yeah, the site.
We'll go to the quote first, and we'll go to the quote now.
Okay.
This comes to us from the folks over at Variety, who wrote the following. The Contessa last appeared in the 2022 blockbuster Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, where the audience learns that she has been named the director of the CIA. This sets the stage for her strongest outing to date, the upcoming film Thunderbolts, which Dreyfus told Variety Film will film this June. So just a few months from now, they start getting in front of the cameras. Julia Louis-Dreyfus is no longer content with cameos, she said. She wants to crack some skulls. I actually pitched it, Dreyfus said. I told them I really, really want to fight. We'll see if that happens. I haven't seen the script yet. When reminded about Marvel's intense stunt training, she reluctantly agreed, ugh, I guess I better get in shape. Which is perfect. But listen, I want to see her fight. I want to see her I want this character, because to me, she is the counterpoint to Nick Fury. And as the counterpoint to Nick Fury, I think she should be every bit the badass that Nick Fury actually is. She may not have any superpowers, but damn it, you don't want to cross her. I want to see that. So I really, really hope. And man, I'll tell you what else. With this movie already being in heavy pre-production, like working overtime, round the clock, getting ready for this June start date, this tells you something about how secretive Marvel has become over the years. Because we are months away from them getting in front of the cameras, and they have not shown the primary cast the scripts yet. I mean, that tells us a lot. Anyway, Chris, yeah, lots to talk about here. We got Julia talking about doing action stunts, the stuff that goes in front of the cameras this June. They start shooting this thing. The fact that this cast hasn't even seen the scripts yet. I don't know. What's jumping out to you?
Oh, man, I love that she wants to do her own stunts. Julia Louis-Dreyfus is one of my favorite performers. I love her so much. Her brief stint on SNL, obviously her work on Seinfeld and on Veep. For her to be doing this action move, I think is really, really fun. She's 62. So if she wants to get in.
No, she's not, is she?
Yeah. Isn't that wild? She looks phenomenal.
She's the same age as Tom Cruise?
That's crazy.
That's kind of my point
I thought
here,
she
too.
was I had it in my head she was early 50s.
She is Forever young. And if Tom Cruise is doing this, I
Oh my
love that
gosh,
she's
she looks
like, let
great.
me step up to the plate. I can do this too. Get me the training. Let me do some of my own stunt work. I think that's rad. I'm really, really here for it. I think she's going to do a great job. And this character is so intriguing to me, too. I think it's a really, really interesting move to have her being, like you were saying, that counterpoint to Fury and kind of delving more into the murkiness of these kinds of ops and being more willing to be murky about it. I think we all kind of forget that Nick Fury does a lot of shady shit.
Oh, yes, he does.
But we have him among heroes all the time. And I love that she is just, oh, no. I can use you and your blind rage, Kirkland, Captain America, and we can have a fun time taking care of business. I love this.
By the way, that shot that Jonathan just had up, only really interesting scene of the Black Widow movie. At least I think easily the most interesting scene of the Black Widow movie. The movie had its moments. Anyway, Rob?
Look, one of my favorite genres of action cinema is the men or people on a mission movie. Whether it's Guns of the 60s had a lot of these, like the Dirty Dozen, the Guns of Navarone, and the Wild Bunch, Seven Samurai, whatever. Give me a bunch of disparate, misfit characters put together that have to accomplish a task, and I will watch. I love this genre. And the fact that that's apparently what we're getting here, again, it's Marvel dipping into other genres of film. Now, you could say, like, the Avengers are a team, but they're good guys. I'm sure these guys are going to bicker. Some of them don't like each other. I love that dynamic, and yet they have to pull together to accomplish. That's why Suicide Squad was the first Suicide Squad was such a disappointment to me because it was such a mess. And I'm hoping that these characters, especially, I mean, I can't wait. Already, you can already see the tension between Bucky and Bargain Basement Captain America because they already have tension between them. They've got beef. I can't wait to see this movie. I think this movie's going to kick ass. I think it's going to be fun as hell. I hope it's R-rated, hardcore, John Wick type action where people are getting their heads shot off, and I think it's going to be dope. I can't wait.
Now, the one big question that still remains for
PG-13.
me about this movie is, because I brought this up a lot, and I am shocked how much I'm looking forward to this movie now. But where does Abomination come in? Because there's been a lot of whispers and talk that Neil Blonsky is going to be a part of it. Emil, I should say, not Neil. And what kind of role will Harrison Ford play? And is he indeed going to become Red Hulk? Again, because there was this thought early on that the Thunderbolts will be going up against Abomination, which that's adorable, but that's a very short fight were that to happen. Is he a part? Does Abomination become a part of the Thunderbolts? Does Red Hulk and Abomination fight? Are they even in the movie at all? I mean, these are some questions I have going around in my
Yeah, I agree. But it has been reported that if that Thunderbolt Ross or that the president, because he's the president now, apparently, is the villain. So wouldn't it be interesting if they need Abomination to take out the president?
I hope not, because the way they've always portrayed Thunderbolt Ross has been, he's an asshole, but he's a good guy.
Yep.
Like, he's an asshole, but he wants people to be safe. He wants security. He wants so he's been an asshole, but he's not been a villain in the MCU up until this point. So I don't know.
There
That makes
could be
me a little
something
nervous.
else going on, shenanigans. Who knows? But maybe they need somebody that can combat Red Hulk.
Yeah. All right. Guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? And what stood out to you most about this? The fact that we got, the thing is already heavy in pre-production, the thing that we've got our start date for its shooting, the fact that we're talking about the Contessa having some combat scenes, the fact that the cast doesn't have the script yet. I don't know. Whatever you guys are thinking, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys, with that down, let's get into our final main topic here today, shall we? Chris, what is our fourth topic today?
Our fourth topic is coming from Oliver. Did you guys see that the stench of Bob Chapek is still haunting Disney? Whoa, Oliver coming in hot. Reports are saying that he's going to get a cool $20 million from Disney on his way out the door. Seems kind of expensive for a guy you fired. Wanted to hear your thoughts since I know you're such a huge Bob Chapek fan.
Oh my God, it's unbelievable. Here's the thing. So yeah, the tale of Bob Chapek continues. That even though he's no longer CEO of Disney, the remnants, the fallout, if you will, is still there. Now, I got a few things to say about Chapek. First, listen, you guys know full revealing here. I was very pro his hiring when they first hired him. On paper, it was the right hire. It's much the same way I felt about the Kathleen Kennedy. When George Lucas picked Kathleen Kennedy to be the head of Lucasfilm, it was the right hire. On paper, it was the right hire. Now, things in life on paper can be one way, but then maybe they don't work out. And I think in the case of Kathleen Kennedy, didn't work out. In the case of Bob Chapek, did not work out. So obviously we all know about the drama of him being fired and going out the door. But I remember the day we talked about on the show when it was announced that he was gone, I said on the show, don't you worry about Bobby Paycheck. He's going to have a golden parachute and he's going to be just fine. This comes to us from the folks over at CNN who wrote the following. Ousted, by the way, he's still rocking that beard. You got to give him, man, he rocks that beard. Anyway, ousted Disney chief executive Bob Chapek is set to receive a hefty paycheck following his exit. The Walt Disney Company said the former CEO, who took over in February of 2020 after longtime CEO Bob Iger retired, is eligible to take home a severance package worth roughly $20 million, according to a regulatory filing on Tuesday. That is in addition to the $24 million he made last year, his $2.5 million base salary plus millions in stock options and awards. That's down from the $32.5 million that he made in 2021. All right.
Some people have a hard landing.
Yeah, his must be rough. Must be rough. You gonna be okay? You gonna be all right there, Bob?
I hope he can cover his debts.
Look, everybody knows I grew to detest his leadership of Disney. I mean, he turned Disney from one of my favorite companies to the laughable shit show that company is today. Thank God Big Papa Iger's back, because if anybody can turn that crap show of Disney around, it's him, because he's the man. But I was very quickly became a anti-fan of Bob Chapek with his decisions that he started to make all throughout. I was really disillusioned as a fan, and I thought he was just driving them totally in the wrong direction. That being said, all right, I never once doubted that every stupid decision he made thinking it was the right decision for the company, right? I never once doubted or thought that Bob Chapek is trying to destroy Disney. No, I never doubted for a second, because from all reports I've ever heard, he's a likable guy. He's a nice guy. And, he made decisions that, yes, were stupid, but he made those being motivated thinking this was right for the company. He was trying to take the company in the right direction. He was just wrong. He was wrong. And he was making the wrong decisions. So I have no problem. This might surprise you. I have no problem that he's getting, listen, he just signed a 3-year extension. He had just signed a 3-year extension. So guess what? You signed me to a 3-year extension, and then you want me gone 4 months later? You're going to pay me.
Yep.
You're going to pay me. And so this might shock a lot of people, because I think I got some messages from people this morning saying, oh, I can't wait to hear Campea go off on how dare they get, you know what? What does he always say, Rob?
You don't get what you deserve. You get what you negotiate.
And he negotiated well. And I am glad he's gone. And at the same time, he's getting compensated for the fact that, hey, we had this deal. We signed it. This is part of the deal. I get that $20 million. And you know what? I have no issue with it. And I wish Bob Chapek, as much as I did not like him as the CEO of Disney, I wish him all the best. I hope he lands on his feet. I hope he's able to continue to do work and maybe take another company in a good direction, as long as it's not at Disney. But good for him. I don't know. Rob, you heard and read about the story. What do you think?
The money aside, I understand it's what he gets. That's what CEOs get. Disney it's a singular company. I know it's hard for people like, myself, to think about money in those kind of terms. However, when I was working at Curdy Peller in the early aughts, Bob Chapek was very instrumental in developing home video and DVD and what they did with that. They've really adopted DVD quickly and special features. They did a great job and Chapek was there for that. I feel bad for the guy, and I don't know him. Forget the money. He was a lifer at Disney. That was his world. I mean, he was there for decades. Now, I don't know why. I still don't quite understand bad decisions coming out of a pandemic. He was dealt a crappy hand, but he was just dumped. I mean, a guy that gave so much of his life. I mean, think about a human life in terms of how much time do you get on this planet. He devoted his life to Disney. And at the end, he winds up the dumped CEO who was dumped while he was watching Elton John. Had no idea it was coming. And I don't know the man, but just from a storytelling standpoint, not a great ending for somebody who gave his life to a company. Now, people can say he was compensated for money, and that's one thing. But you know what? I don't think when Bob Chapek started his journey at Disney, he's thinking, I'm going to leave this job and take $20 million with me. When he started, I know he cared about what he did. And I just think about it in those kind of terms. I understand, maybe I'm a romantic, but I just can't, like, what does he think about? I worry about Bob Chapek when he gets up in the morning.
But listen.
I hope he's a happy man.
I understand that. But
you know what I mean?
I look at it from a little bit of a different perspective. How many people, because let's be honest, there's a lot of lifers at Disney.
I know.
Right? A lot of lifers. How many of them got to sit on the throne?
Not many. I know.
Bob
and that's
Iger
true.
and Bob Chapek, right?
Absolutely true.
And listen, it reminds me of House of the Dragon with Viserys saying, careful when you sit on the throne, because sitting on that throne could kill you. And the reality was, while it is unfortunate that his story at Disney ended that way,
I know.
he was the CEO of Disney.
Yes.
It may have ended badly. But guess what? 15 years from now, is he sitting at a social dinner table? He's got the best story. I was CEO of Disney. And he did get compensated very well. But the reality, unfortunately, was, yeah, he was a lifer. And yes, I think he wanted what was best for Disney. But the reality was he was taking Disney in radically the wrong direction. And at some point, the shareholders and the board have to go, we can't do this anymore. And we need to change directions. But anyway, Chris, you hear about this. I mean, not many people know that when I ultimately eventually fired Jonathan Voico, he's got to
do too many Batman movies.
$25 Cheesecake Factory card for him, ready to go. But I don't know. You hear about this. What do you think?
I mean, of course, no one goes into a job wanting to do a bad job, poor job, whatever. But on that lifer track of that kind of, oh, poor Bob Chapek, I was reading up in Business Insider. You know how much money he makes? 446 times more than the average Disney employee, who makes about $55,000 a year. So that's all I'm going to say on this.
Yeah, don't feel too bad. Don't feel too bad for Bob.
I know.
I love that you want everyone to be happy, but I think he's going to be okay.
Look, man, he is going to be okay. But I just am saying that,
Remember, that's $20 million on top of all the other money he got. Like he's just being given $20 million as a party bag as he leaves the event.
It's actually about 24 to 25.
But he's still somebody who
right.
He didn't even get like a production deal. He got nothing. He's gone.
But he's not a producer. He's like, that's the thing.
I know.
He's not any of those things.
I know.
But he's
just like,
he's a coin counter.
I guess he'll get another job.
Oh, he will.
Or he doesn't have to work a day in his life.
Yeah.
No, if I was him, I'd be playing PlayStation all day for the rest of my life. I don't know. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? It looks like the closing chapters of Bob Chapek's run at Disney are now here. He's going to get somewhere in the neighborhood of $20+ million as a severance, which, you know what?
Sitting on a beach.
God bless him for getting
20%.
it. He earned it. So what do you guys think about it? Whatever you think, jump down to the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, we're now going to go over and start taking your live questions. We're going to open up the super chats now. If you guys have a thought, theory, opinion, or question that you would like us to address here on the show, you can go ahead and jump in the super chats and do that now. But before we get to those, we want to take a moment here and thank a couple more sponsors of the show today, our friends at Rocket Money and Ryan Reynolds' own Mint Mobile. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, Rocket Money. Do you know how much your subscriptions cost? Most Americans think they spend around $80 a month on subscriptions, when the actual total is closer to $200. If you don't know exactly how much you're spending every month, You need Rocket Money. When I started using Rocket Money, I couldn't believe how many things I was still paying for. Ann and I haven't lived in Burbank for almost 2 years, and I didn't realize I was still paying for a gym membership in Burbank for 2 years. Rocket Money, formerly known as Truebill, is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps you lower your bills, all in one place. Over 80% of people have subscriptions that they've forgotten about, like that streaming service you bought to watch just one show on, or that free trial that you never even used, or like me, a gym membership in Burbank. Simply find the subscriptions you don't want and press cancel, and Rocket Money will cancel it for you. So stop throwing your money away. Cancel unwanted subscriptions and manage your expenses the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/Campea. That's rocketmoney.com/Campea. Guys, we want to thank a sponsor of this video, Mint Mobile. If saving more and spending less is one of your top goals for 2023, why are you still paying insane amounts of money every month for your phone bill? Switching to Mint Mobile is the easiest way to save money this year. As the first company to sell premium wireless service online only, Mint Mobile lets you order from home and save a ton, with phone plans starting at just $15 a month. Guys, I have told you before that when I was on one of the major phone carriers, I was spending literally 3 times as much every month, and switching to Mint Mobile couldn't have been easier. So for people just looking to save some extra money this year, Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for just $15 a month. All plans come with unlimited talk and text plus high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and switch easily in just minutes with eSIM. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month and get the plan shipped to your door for free, go to mintmobile.com/Campea. That's mintmobile.com/Campea. Cut your wireless bill to just $15 a month at mintmobile.com/Campea. And thank you to our friends at Rocket Money and, of course, Mint Mobile, my mobile service provider, and they should be yours, for sponsoring this episode of The John Campea Show. All right, guys, with that down, let's get to your live questions here, shall we? Chris, what do we got up in there?
We have from Uncle Drew. Oh, that's from a day ago. Never mind. From Miguel Corrado, some support. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Miguel.
From Al Renshaw, over under 30% Red Hulk shows up in Thunderbolts.
It's not a minute chance, but I wouldn't go as high as 30, so I'm going to take under.
Me too. Under.
Chris?
I feel like it's going to happen. I'm going to go over.
All right. What's next?
From Sam Fisher, sorry about sending the Glass Onion spoiler. I figured it was okay because it's been on Netflix a few weeks. Let us know when, because I need to talk about it.
You know, that's a good point. It is a movie that's on Netflix, which means anybody who wants to watch it can just sit down. You don't even have to go out to a movie theater, buy a ticket, get a baby. You can just sit down and watch it right now. I don't even know what you wrote. It's just as soon as I can't remember who read the question,
Aaron
said, okay, so something happens. I was like, okay, I didn't even know what it was. So maybe it wasn't even that bad. I was just trying to be really, really careful. But thank you for it. That was very courteous of you to write that in, Sam. All right, what's next?
From Corey Hensley, both Ed Skieran and Michael Huisman in Rebel Moon sounds like multiverse versions of Dario everyone's names I'm going to screw up. Dario Naharis from Game of Thrones will battle for the affections of Sophia B. How do we say those names for real?
Maybe. Now, I can't. So, Screen, whatever, how you pronounce his last name. I remember he took over for Jason Statham in the Transporter franchise. That didn't work out so well. And he, of course, I think he left Game of Thrones to do that Transporter movie, if I remember properly. I remember he left Game of Thrones for something else. Probably not the best move. And there was a lot of debate, who is the best version of that character. Whatever. Again, look, it's an interesting cast. Pretty consistent with the type of casting that he did for Army of the Dead, which, you know, again, I didn't love the movie, but I had fun. I enjoyed it. Other people didn't like it as much, and that's perfectly fine. It's going to be interesting to see how they go with that. All right, what's next?
From TJ Perry, in The Last of Us, the preview shows Henry and Sam speaking sign language. If the kid Sam is deaf, I can't wait for the Quiet Place vibes, especially since Quiet Place is heavily influenced by the game.
I missed that whole question because I got a notification came up that I had to look at. So why don't you take that?
Oh, well, I mean,
The guy wasn't listening either.
yes, I was, but I mean, I was like waiting for you to say it. I mean, I don't really have much to say. I mean, I agree. I mean, that's it.
You know what? Bring up the question again, just so I can see. Because I got this notification from my wife that I had to look at.
I mean,
sorry. If in the Last of Us previews show Henry and Sam speaking sign. Okay, yes. If the kid Sam is deaf, I can't wait to see the Quiet Place vibes, especially since QP.
Quiet Place is
Place.
heavily
Oh,
influenced.
yeah,
and
it's
I'm like,
Okay. No, that's actually a really good question.
Cool.
But I mean, I agree with that.
Yeah, it will be. Listen, because Quiet Place did it masterfully,
Yeah.
like absolutely masterfully. But you can already tell they have a really good hand in how to create the tension and the atmosphere in the game itself. So if they can carry that over and give it that same sort of feel, it'll be a huge win. All right, what's next?
From Sin Vendetta. Hey, John, it's nice to see Avatar: The Way of Water is about to break even when it hits 2 billion, right?
Oh God, I still can't believe. You know what's really confusing to me is when I even see major outlets, like some TV networks, still running with this ridiculous narrative. Like, for those of you who don't know, and I'm sure most of you do. So before the movie came out, James Cameron made the comment, which is a little, it was kind of flippant, but he made the comment, I mean, this is going to have to be like the third or fourth biggest movie of all time to break even. So people then thought, well, that means this movie needs to make $2 billion to make it. And everybody ran with that narrative. And we talked about it on this show the day it was said. We said, guys, he was not talking about worldwide totals, because for this movie to need $2 billion to break even, it would have to be like an $800 million production movie. This movie was about $450 million.
But also, he shot 95% of Avatar 3 already and part of Avatar 4.
Yeah, but I don't think he was including that as...
I think, but like you said, he was being flippant. I think he was saying something he thought was funny, at the
this
time.
was a movie that needed because we now know it was like super expensive movie to make. $450 million makes it one of the most expensive movies ever made in history. But that meant the break-even point was around the 800 to 900 to 925 million. Still a ridiculously high number. But it's just crazy to me to see how some people didn't actually look into that. And they just heard that once and then ran with that. Guys, listen to me. Avatar: The Way of Water did not need to make $1.5-2 billion to break even, okay? That is a false narrative. That was never remotely true. It doesn't matter who keeps parroting it. That's not true at all. Anyway. All right, what's next?
From Stubble McShave, Cameron's movies remind me of the Romanticism era, similar to early Star Wars by Lucas. Both push technology for storytelling about technology versus nature.
There's also this X factor that Cameron has to just, and Rob, you've mentioned this too, to just create movie magic. This X factor, this almost unidentifiable, he's got this way of creating a true experience at the movies, whether he's doing True Lies or whether he's doing Terminator or whether he's doing Titanic or whether he's doing Avatar or whatever. He has this ability to sweep you up in the awe and wonder and what the movies can do that I think he understands better than many, maybe even better than like a Spielberg, who's the greatest storyteller of all time. But James Cameron's got that X factor. What do you think it is about him?
Well, I think one, he's tapping into very basic, the basic human stories that define all of us, first of all. And you're going to save somebody from an external threat, being one of them. And most of the time, the person that you're saving, you're also romantically involved with. And it's kind of romanticism is a good way to put it, because despite the fact that he's got marauding machines or he's got aliens underwater or humans going after the Na'vi, at the core, the values of all of us, we all understand, no matter what audiences are the world over, we understand the idea of protecting a loved one from something adverse out there. And at the same time, the threat is dire, the threat is real. So it's simple to understand, but then he has the execution. And the execution is, I mean, if you look at, I always marvel looking at his films, the way they're edited. They're just perfect shots. The way they're constructed is absolutely perfect, and you feel it all. So basic, easy to understand stories, incredibly well told, and they get you right in the heart.
All right, what's next?
From JCSC, Chris, you can voice and perform capture a character for one of the following games: The Last of Us 3 or the next God of War. Which do you choose? The Last of Us 3.
Really? Why is
Yeah.
that? I'd be curious.
Because I like that game a lot more.
Oh, okay,
I think that The Last of Us has characters that I could end up playing in real life on camera.
Right.
But whereas God of War would be really fun because I'm not going to be cast as like a deity. I'm not really built for that. I don't get a lot of badasses on camera. Let's not get that twisted. Look at this face. I'm so open. I'm so happy about everything. That's why I like voiceover. But Last of Us, I just like the game more.
All right. What's next? Good answer.
From Joe Azando. Chris will get my name right someday. Probably not today, Joe. Randazzo?
I mean, it's spelled Randazzo.
Randazzo?
That's a great name, though.
Maybe you're getting Joe wrong.
Yeah. Maybe it's
Is it
Yo.
pronounced ho?
Yo
Do I pronounce it ho?
Randazzo.
Maybe.
All right, what's next?
From Brandon Nesmadine. So happy. Meryl Streep will be in Only Murders Season 3.
How are they getting everybody? Because they got Paul Rudd in Only Murders in the Building. Now we got, I mean, it's not even arguably. You have the greatest actress of all time. Now it's everybody's lining up to be in this show. It's good for them. It's great. All right, what's next?
From Jay Bling. Extraction to me was just a glorified action demo reel for its director. Ooh.
Yeah. And you know what? For some people, that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
You know, you want to sit down, have some escapism, and listen, even I don't think that movie was very good. But even I will tell you, the action in it was fantastic. Yeah. That car scene as well was inspired. I mean, it was really, really good. I just didn't think it was very good as a movie.
What more do you want from it? I mean, I think
Good story, good characters, little things like that.
sometimes all you want's the action.
And sometimes you do.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people, that was enough. All right, what's next?
From Suthius. To celebrate 30 years of Power Rangers, Netflix will air a special on April 19th featuring a few of the OG Rangers. Billy, Zack, Kat, Aisha, Rocky, Adam, etc. Very cool. Looking forward to it.
It's very difficult for me to properly articulate how little interest I have in this. I don't care. It's the Power Rangers. I get it. Listen, Power Rangers has, unlike a lot of IP, Power Rangers have generations of fans, right? More fans than like My Beloved Supernatural or anything like that. The one thing that does bring a little of emotion into it was, there's not going to be a Green Ranger.
Yeah.
And it is, so it's kind of sad. And it makes me wonder if they had filmed some stuff before the announcement and maybe you'll get a little bit of him in that. Cause that's the one part that does feel kind of sad about it. But yeah, I'm not going to pretend I have any interest in this. Chris, what about, you're a Power Rangers girl.
I love Power Rangers. I have a Legacy Dragon Dagger on my Amazon wish list that costs $500 and no one will buy it for me.
Oh, dude, what kind
I
of
want
monsters
it.
are in this
Right?
world?
Oh, my life is really hard.
I bet
I
you
mean, my
anything,
dagger.
if we put the link to that Amazon wish list in the show description, somebody would buy that for you.
Oh, and then I'd feel terrible. And I'd be like, please do something better with this money.
But then you'd hold it and you'd get over it. You would get over feeling terrible, I think.
I think I'd just hold it every time I was on camera here.
The whole time.
Whenever we had to segue to commercial, I'd be like, okay, now let me play the dagger flute here.
All right, what's next?
From James Argenta, over under 1.5 episodes with Boba in Mando season 3.
Ooh. Listen, it would seem an odd choice not to have Boba Fett in Mandalorian season 3. He is, of course, the most famous Mandalorian. I mean, in the real world, he is for 40 years, he was the only Mandalorian. I mean, and you had Mando in his show. Listen, I don't know about 1.5. I mean, 1.5 is because he either appears in one episode. I'm going to go under. I'm going to go 1, but I do think, I'm just guessing. My guess is he does make an appearance, but it'll probably be for one episode. Rob, what do you think?
2 episodes.
Two
And it's going to
episodes?
be a 2-parter, and it's probably going to be the end of the season. They're the Mandalorian, whatever's going on, they're pinned down. You got to establish Boba Fett as a badass again because the damage was done, and they know that. I think they're going to give Boba Fett an entrance. He's going to rescue a bunch of Mandalorians, and he's going to kick major ass, and then they're all going to do the final assault.
Where was
It's
that?
going to be dope.
Where was that Mandalorian? Or sorry, where was that Boba Fett from Mandalorian season 2? Right? Like the John Wick. He was the John Wick of the Star Wars universe in Mandalorian. And then they turned him into the angry old man.
That's why they're gonna reinvigorate his career in Mando season 3. I guarantee it. It's gonna be 2 episodes or more.
I gotta know what Ray's laughing at.
Sure, Rob. Sure,
What?
Rob.
You know, listen, if people are going to watch my Harry and Meghan after show, they are going to trust me when it comes to Boba Fett.
Those graphics, y'all, people will DM me and be like, what fresh hell is this? And what are they doing to Rob?
We had a friend of ours in the industry who messaged us saying, how did you guys get Harry and Meghan? You guys are actually yeah, they're it's like no. It's a joke. It's a joke.
I love that people also still need to send their scripts to you on this
I still on the rose petals.
Well, Megan called me yesterday and she asked if it was true.
Oh, sweet.
All right, what's next?
From Hero75, my theory is that the U.S. knows about Namor. That battle happened in the open ocean with satellites overhead. So the movie is Thunderbolts versus Namor.
They're not going to bring Namor into Thunderbolts. And by the way, none of the Thunderbolts stand a chance against Namor. So I mean, that's great. I mean, Bucky, you're great. I love Bucky. What are you going to do against Namor?
Maybe they just got to dry him out.
Yeah, just dry him out.
Yeah.
Hey, tell you what, Namor, can you do a favor? Can you stand in this dehydration chamber and don't try to get out until you've been in the dehydration chamber for about 10 minutes? That would be great. I mean, the more I think about Wakanda Forever, there's more that I don't like about it. I still enjoy the movie, I do, but all right, what's next?
From Dumbrodor, forget Doctor Strange. Where's the VFX nom for Morbius?
Listen. Say what you want about Morbius, and we've said a lot. I will say this. Their visual template, if you will, for his radar echo sort of what echo navigation thing that Abata, the way they visually manifested that in the movie was actually very visually interesting. Terrible movie, but give credit where it's due. I thought that was actually very visually interesting.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
From Jay, one of two, saw an article regarding John Carpenter letting slip a live-action Dead Space being in development, and it'll be directed by another director. I think the other director is him. What percentage do you give of him being the actual director?
Well, I mean, first of all, a project being in development does not mean it's going to happen, right? We've seen that many times. Like so-and-so's being done. Okay, great. But there's a far cry from that to it actually getting greenlit and funded and all that kind of stuff. If it does happen, I don't think he'll be the director. I don't know, Rob, what do you think?
No, and John Carpenter just turned 75 years old. I think Carpenter's in a place in his life where he likes playing his music with his sons, and he likes playing his video games. He likes watching his basketball, and that's it. I don't think John Carpenter's ever going to direct. It wouldn't surprise me if he did, but I don't think he ever will direct another movie.
All right, what's next?
From Jay Bling. Also, Murder Mystery was bad, but I personally enjoyed it more than Red Notice.
God bless my two favorite movie stars, Ryan Reynolds and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. That's not a good movie.
Which one was Murder Mystery?
It's Jennifer Aniston and Adam Sandler on like a
Netflix
cruise or something.
On a boat.
And somebody gets murdered.
Whatever happened to that movie where they thought it was like a murder mystery game, but then it was sort
Game
of
Night.
Game Night.
Was Game Night good?
Game Night.
Game Night was great.
Loved Game Night.
It
Really
had a
good.
very Man Who Knew Too Little vibe.
Yeah.
It was really fun.
And it only makes the tragedy of The Flash even worse because the guys who wrote and directed Game Night were attached for the longest time to do the Flash movie.
Yeah.
And then Ezra Miller undermined them, and they were like, peace out, and they left. Now, granted, they got a great director to come in and take over for them. I'm very, very excited to see what he does with this franchise. But I was really pretty excited about those guys doing Flash. But yeah, Game Night, if you haven't seen it, it's a lot of fun. Go check it out. All right, what's next?
From Nico, are we ever going to get another Die Hard movie?
We asked that yesterday.
Yes. Obviously not a Bruce Willis one. And whether it's a reboot or Die Hard: The Next Generation or whatever. But yeah, it's a popular IP. They'll take advantage
But
of it.
here's something. Die Hard has now fallen into that 35-year underlying script problem where they have to pay a lot of money to re-up to make another Die Hard movie if they want to.
I'd be shocked if that wasn't already taken care of.
I don't know.
I doubt it's an issue anymore. They've probably taken care of that.
Die Hard the college years. He just
Die
won't
Hard
get
the college
He just
years.
won't get the clap.
All right, what's next?
From Send Me Your Scripts. Game idea. Guess that Rotten Tomato score. Ooh,
Yeah, I mean,
be hard.
here's the thing, though. I don't like predicting what other people will think of a movie that I haven't even seen yet.
Right.
Right. So, I mean, that's just another way of playing. Do we think this movie will be good? So I don't know. I mean, could be fun. Could be. I mean, we do love speculating. Speculating is what movie fans love doing best. So it's kind of our, we're Tigger that way. It's what we do best. So I don't know. All right. What's next?
From Black Rice 19. Hey guys, am I wrong for thinking the Michael Jackson biopic should be a trilogy instead of just one movie? There's so much story to tell.
I mean,
Couldn't you say that about
one
Freddie Mercury? Couldn't you say that about Johnny Cash?
Yeah.
Couldn't you say that about Ray Charles? Couldn't you say that about, yes, it's a person's life, but do we need 3 movies about the person? I'm good with one. I'm good with one.
Now I want every musical biopic to be 3.
To be a trilogy,
movies,
every
yeah.
single one.
Cinematic
The Empire Strikes Back of the Dolly Parton story.
All right, what's next?
From Oscar Layout. Hashtag release the breakdance tapes and hashtag send me your scripts.
Yeah, the breakdance tapes are safely tucked away at the Campea Ranch, never to be seen again by anybody other than me, Ann, and maybe our future kids.
How
But,
about releasing them for charity? We
Nope.
have a big charity show.
Look, I'll do anything for charity. So if somebody says, hey, listen, we're going to take these 5 families, these 500 privileged families, and we're going to buy them homes and we're going to do all that. You've got my attention. Maybe that, but it's going to take something as extreme as that. It's going to take something as extreme as that. All right, what's next?
You'd be a legend.
From Dumbledore. I love that that's your meatloaf moment, though, of like, I won't do that. I'll do anything for charity.
I will
but not
do
that.
it.
From Dumbledore, seeing Feige run many projects per year reminds me of how the McDonald's founders and the founder never branched out further due to quality control.
By the way, if you have not seen Michael Keaton's The Founder, it's really fascinating, especially because my wife, Ann, is, I can't remember if I ever told the story or not. So my wife, Ann, is such a McDonald's chicken nuggets girl. Like all of our friends know, she's wild about chicken nuggets. She doesn't let herself eat them all that much anymore because she's really in this workout, super health thing now. But she still loves, every once in a while, if I'll say, if we come home late from an event, we haven't had dinner, want to just order McDonald's? Yes. And we go to the point that when we were living in Burbank, Ray, do you remember this? There was a news story that came out. A news story came out in Burbank that a local woman was arrested in Burbank. You can find this online. Local woman arrested in Burbank for prostitute who was offering to prostitute herself in exchange for chicken McNuggets. And the moment that happened, the emails and calls I got is like, where do we bail Ann out? How do we get Ann out?
Damn.
Give me that number to that prostitute.
It's just like,
Just some chicken nuggets. Dang.
But
I need
think
to
of
start learning how to make chicken nuggets.
think of
Chef Pleasures making the chicken nuggets.
Is that all it takes now in Burbank? It's not the.
All right. So what was the question? Oh, the founder, McDonald's. Boy, we went on a tangent there.
Wow.
Okay, let's keep going here. What's next?
there it is.
Oh,
There it is.
Wow.
Woman arrested for offering sexual favors in exchange for chicken McNuggets.
Oh my god! Like
A woman was arrested offering chicken in Burbank police. I told you it was real, and we
Not
got
far
calls.
from you guys either.
This would
Oh
have been
my
such
God.
a better
My
headline
chance.
if she was exchanging sexual favors for 5 guys, because there'd be so much room to go, what does that mean? That would have been great. From Marcus Penner.
Wow. I wonder what kind of favors.
Oh, walking the dog, that sort of thing.
Yeah,
Do they
just
still have
nice
a ball
things.
pit at McDonald's?
There's so
Marcus
many ways we can
Penner.
go with that.
Marcus Penner says, just binge Harley Quinn and Bane carb loading for the F Fest is the funniest joke DC ever. Let's try that again. Is the funniest DC joke I've ever seen in DC media.
No, listen, and Harley Quinn is loaded. The entire show is loaded with side clenching, hard to breathe, laughable moments. But in that Court of Owls orgy episode, and Bane, who is my favorite character in that show, when Bane says that line, for just a little bit of context for those who don't watch the show, Harley and Poison Ivy infiltrate this Court of Owls event, right? At this mansion. What they don't know is that it's actually their monthly or annual orgy. And so they're at their vent, and it's before the orgy, so everybody's in black tie and whatever. And then they realize an orgy is about to break out. And they come across Bane, who's like eating this giant bowl of pasta. And he says something along the lines, what was he? I'm carbing up. Is that what he said?
Yeah. Carb loading.
I'm carbing up for the fuck fest. And like hearing Bane say that. Have you ever been like punched and like got punched in the gut, or something happened where so much air in your lungs was expelled at once you thought you might pass out? I was laughing so hard I couldn't breathe in. I couldn't inhale. Like I couldn't.
It's a pretty funny.
I couldn't, like the moment it happened, I almost couldn't breathe, and I swear to God, I thought I was going to pass out. I thought I was going to pass out. I laughed so hard on that. God, I love that character. All right, sorry. What's next?
From Josh Kahn. One thing I've seen in video game adaptations like Arcane or Last of Us is the inclusion of the OG creators of the game does wonders. Those creators know why their stories and characters connect.
Here's the thing, though. I got into a discussion about this online, too. What story in Arcane? What story? Like, I get it. Yes, of course, Arcane is by the definition of it, Arcane is a video game adaptation. By the strict definition of the term, yes. But in spirit, like that show has nothing to do with the game. They took some characters and then gave them stories. I mean, so Arcane is my favorite animated show of all time. But I don't know that having original creators involved with it, I don't know that meant much, because it was not an adaptation of the story of the game. It was a completely original thing. Unlike, say, The Last of Us, which was really different. All right, what's next?
From CJ Rebirth. Can you walk? Ugh, yeah. Then effing walk. Oh man, I reached that scene in Last of Us game and it hurt.
That was a scene in Winter.
Oh, in the game. I thought, wait, they didn't get to the. Oh, in the game. Listen, There's so many moments. I'm just going to say this. For those of you who haven't played the game or don't know it, at some point, Joel and Ellie are going to come across a father and son. And just prepare yourself. That's all I'm going to say. Just prepare yourself. All right, what's next?
From Stubble McShave. With Pedro Pascal as the good anti-hero in Star Wars and with his rugged, handsome everyman roles in other IPs, is Pedro Pascal the new Harrison Ford?
Listen, I have been shouting from the mountaintops for a while, but why is Pedro Pascal not getting his due? I remember when he was in that terrible Kingsman sequel. And it's like, how is Pedro Pascal in this and he is not like one of the headline names on it? This dude is incredibly gifted. It's a little bit of a stretch, though, to call him the next Harrison Ford. I love Pedro. I love seeing everything he's in. Let's pump the brakes a little bit on calling him the next Harrison Ford, though. I don't know, Rob, what do you think?
Yeah, let's pump the brakes. I'm sorry, but Pedro Pascal's a fine actor.
He's great.
But he's no Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
He does not have, it's like Pedro Pascal does not have the twinkle that Harrison Ford has.
Twinkle.
The twinkle in his eye.
Pedro, get that twinkle.
Like in Indiana Jones when he says, "Trust me." He doesn't have that. And that's not a dig or I'm not trying to detract from Pedro Pascal's abilities. But Harrison Ford has that thing, whatever that thing is, and it's very rare.
It's a twinkle.
I just call it a twinkle because it is a twinkle. It's a twinkle on his teeth. It's a twinkle in his eye. It's just a twinkle.
All right, what's next?
It's what I do for a twinkle.
From Miguel Corrado. Hello, John and crew. It's happening. The future is weekly releases of movies. On that note, The Last of Us episode 1 was long. Thoughts? Bring on the filthy.
Yeah, it was very long and I loved it, but do not expect that moving forward. We do know, it's public knowledge, that they took the first couple of episodes because the HBO bosses. I saw somebody in the live chat actually a little bit earlier in the show saying, well, the reason I think The Last of Us is going to end up being better than God of War, and it very well may end up because so far it's incredible, is because HBO doesn't interfere with their show creators. That is not true.
No.
As a matter of fact, episode 1 is a great example of that. The reason the first episode was so long was because HBO interfered. And they told them, no, we can't leave it off at this. You need to, and they ended up putting the first 2 episodes together. And it was the right decision.
Yeah.
It was absolutely the right decision for them to do. But do not expect that future episodes to be. I think the next episode is like 52 or 53 minutes, and that's probably roughly going to be. But they won't be the Disney Plus bullshit 31 minutes, 29 minutes, 38 minutes. It's not going to be that, though.
But I will say this, like I worked on a little show in a directorial capacity for HBO, and they gave really good notes. And we would have to accept them, but they were not interfering notes. They were helpful clarification notes, and I thought they were always good notes.
All right, what's next?
The scene needs twinkle.
From Dino Vader, I bet the armor will forge a new crib out of Beskar for Grogu.
A new crib, a Beskar
armorer.
crib.
That's a lot of Beskar.
Yeah, listen, I hope we get every once in a while you get a show where there's this little side character that everybody loves. Boba Fett was kind of that in the original Star Wars trilogy, but I really love the armorer. I want to see more of her.
Yeah.
Especially after that season 1 finale when she just beats the living shit out of all those stormtroopers. I want to see more of her. I love her. All right, what's next?
We have Mark 24 Gaming support.
Oh,
Hey,
thank
thanks,
you.
Mark 24. Joseph DeFilippis sending his $17 super chat.
Thank you.
Even though Fuqua wasn't my first choice for the Michael Jackson family biopic, I like the hiring and hearing that John Logan is penning the script as well.
Again, listen, there's no such thing as a perfect director for it, but you just want a good director who knows how to take a story and tell it. Antoine Fuqua is that. He's one of those. So I think he's a fine choice. Listen, if I was on the board of Lionsgate and it came up, should we make a Michael Jackson biopic? I still think I would vote no. Listen, again, if anyone's going to crack the code, Antoine Fuqua is one of the guys who can do it, and maybe they come up with something brilliant and it wins Oscars and all that kind of stuff. But man, if I was on that board of Lionsgate, I'd be like, guys, this is a hornet's nest. I don't know if there is a path to victory for us here. But hey, kudos to them. They've got balls. Can't take that away from them. Let's see how it goes. All right, what's next?
From Kylo Ken, John, how likely is it that once the Avatar films come to an end, that James Cameron has all of the 5 top films of all time?
Unlikely. I mean, look, it's such a ridiculous question. It shouldn't even be entertained. But it's James Cameron. Like, is it really impossible to think if he's had 2 Avatar films that have joined the $2 billion club, that what's Endgame at right now? Like 2.7 or something like that?
Yeah, you'd have to push Endgame out of the top 5.
So here's the other problem too. The other problem too is, but if you push Endgame out of the top 5, you're now pushing Avatar: The Way of Water out of the top 5.
Yes.
So I would say no. Can't happen.
I would agree. with you.
The way it's structured right now, for one to top Endgame, that's now going to have to push the ladder down. And so not impossible, but I think extremely unlikely. All right, what's next?
From Warlocks, when does Morbius Minute start?
We're still working on it.
We really got to get on that.
Still working on it, but I am committed to making that happen.
It's still
gonna
in
come.
pre-production.
All right, what's next?
From JG Trey, Rob, I've had a good day. Can you say, meanwhile in the Hall of Family, to make it even better?
Wow.
Meanwhile, in the Hall of Family.
All right, what's next?
We are kind of in the Hall of Family.
Yes, we are.
Aw.
John Redcorn, while Uncharted wasn't very good, I do think there is potential in a sequel. Do you think there will be a sequel? It made more than Black Adam.
I think they've already said there's going to be a sequel.
Yeah, I think there's going to be one.
And listen, while I did not think the movie was great, I agree with you. I think even though they made some weird decisions, whatever, I thought the foundations were there.
I agree.
I really do. And so I think not only do I think they will do a sequel, I think they should. And hopefully they will learn from what didn't work, accentuate what did, and make a better movie the second time around.
Go on an adventure, wander around the streets and underneath some, diner. They're in like some foreign town, and then they thought, well, we're going to go underneath this. Like, come on.
All right, what's next?
From John Red. From Jay. Oh, we did that one. Oh, from Wicked Man. There we go. HBO Max is awesome. I watched Sideways the other day. I love
my
that
God,
movie.
Sideways is so good.
So good.
If they order Merlot, I'm out of here.
We're not drinking any fucking Merlot.
Every time Paul Giamatti right now has got these Verizon commercials where he plays Albert Einstein. Like, I don't know. Come on, Paul. but I love Paul Giamatti. Love him as an actor. It doesn't matter whether he's in getting Oscar nominations or whether he's in Shoot 'em Up or whether he's doing Verizon commercials. I love Paul Giamatti. But him in Sideways, which by the way, like Thomas Hayden Church, in that as well. Like absolutely fan. I love that movie. I can't remember the last time one of our fans wrote in and even dropped a reference to Sideways. I'm so
It's
glad
so
that
good.
you did. Yeah, Sandra Oh is in
Sandra
that
Oh,
too.
and I think Virginia Madsen too.
She is. She
Yep.
plays the love interest.
Yep.
It's a great movie.
It's wonderful. And it ruined the Merlot industry for a while.
And it totally did.
And I'll tell
you'll fall in love with Pinot Noir.
Last night I bought a bottle of Hitching Post Pinot Noir.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, nice.
I would love to go there.
It's great. I mean, we should take a day trip to Solvang and go wine tasting.
So that'd be fun.
You do know
John-
I don't drink, right?
No, but
Well,
Solvang's
you can
great.
film.
Have you
You're
ever,
Oh, I
to
can
drive
film,
us there,
can
John.
I?
have you ever
Can
had
I pay
Abel's?
for the trip and film it?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's so cool.
That'd be
John,
nice of you.
have you ever had Abel skewers? Come on, they're pancakes, but they're
Yeah.
balls. It's great.
You would love. Have you
Better in
ever
ball
gone to
form.
Solvang?
I don't even know what that is.
Okay, it's a
It
town.
sounds like the name of one of
No, it's-
Skarsgård's kids.
You don't have to drink to love it
It
there.
kind of is.
Solvang Skarsgård.
Solvang. It's like a recreation of a Danish
Yeah.
town.
Taylor has a tattoo.
I have a
to
solving
represent the town.
tattoo.
And
it's like
a
Fantasyland.
beautiful. Anne would love it. It's
Yeah.
gorgeous. You don't have to drink wine, but it's beautiful. Hang out. They got great food. We can go to winery tours.
I have a picture of
It's
me as a kid sitting
unbelievable.
in that
It's
giant
such a
shoe.
great weekend, and it's only 2 hours away.
It's good to know.
We'll drink. You film it.
I think
It's
I'd rather
fun.
go to Vegas, but all right.
We can go to the Hitching Post. It's so fun.
I've
dude.
always wanted to go there, so that'd be fun.
Solvang
All right.
is great.
Is that it?
Go.
That is.
All right. So, guys, that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here, making this show part of your day. Big special thank you to those of you guys who sent in those super chats. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did it, and all of us involved with the show. Thank you guys so much for your support. Once again, don't forget, a little bit later, about an hour and a half from now at 2 p.m. Los Angeles time,
Solvang talk.
what's that? Yeah,
Solving talk.
We got Robert Meyer Burnett and Chris Carr with the newest issue of The Weekly Hero. We hope you guys will come back and join us for that. That will once again be live at 2 p.m. Los Angeles time, 5 p.m. New York time. Hope to see you there. Don't forget, guys, to like and subscribe to this channel. Leave a comment down below, and make sure you guys come on back tomorrow and join us for the next installment of the John Campea Show. So for everybody in the room, Robert Meyer Burnett, back there we got Ray Ora, Taylor Gonzalez, and of course, Jonathan Boyko and Chris Carr. My name's John Campea. Thanks for being here, guys. And until next time, McNuggets.